We're back on golf today. Our roundtable continues with Rex and Lav. I'm Damon. He's Eamon. Now, Lav, I got to come to you. TGL announced its schedule release for 2025 after some delays and challenges. It's the tech-infused simulator golf league, and Tiger and Rory are players and investors, but Tiger's not competing in the first event. I'm excited to see it, but I wanted to see Tiger. Were you surprised there's no Tiger Woods, y'all, in event number 1?
First thing I noticed, Damon, when the schedule release came out earlier today, it does seem like a little bit of an own goal by TGL. You don't know how Tiger's recovery is going from that fall back surgery, but that could be potentially the first time that we'd see him in action. There'd be a lot of curiosity about that. The thinking from TGL's standpoint is obviously the novelty and the curiosity of what TGL is and what could be, should be enough to power them through the first week. And then you put Tiger Woods in the second week thinking that you can sort of sustain that momentum. But it's certainly a risk. I mean, if fans are turned off or disinterested by what they see on that opening night, and there's obviously plenty of skepticism about the staying power and whether fans are going to be interested in this in the long haul, they're not going to make it to the second week. And so there's 15 regular season matches for TGL. You need to sustain that momentum through at least the first month and really see what you have. And not having Tiger Rory on the debut night is certainly a risk.
Unless, of course, they have them sitting in the stands, since it is a hometown game for both of them down in Palm Beach Gardens. Rex, the Tiger is not going to be seen until week 2. Rory's not going to be seen until week 4. Does this speak to the broader challenge with TGL, is that you are relying upon individual star power in a team format to get fans to care about team golf, and more than that, to get them to care about the standings week to week in team golf?
I think that's part of it, because you only have a finite number of stars. Clearly, Tiger and Rory are going to drive that league, at least early in the process. But you also have the personality part of this. And it has to be the personalities that come out and drive it, that sustain that interest level. Because I've spoken with a lot of people at TGL, and there's plenty of players on the PGA Tour who play brilliant golf. You truly enjoy watching them play golf, but I don't know that if I want to sit around and listen to them banter with each other, because they simply don't have that type of personality. So I think that's going to be the challenge of TGL, coming up with those players that not only play really, really good golf, but they're interesting to sit and talk and to listen to and to have a little bit of fun that they don't do on the regular golf course.
Rex, are you suggesting the PGA Tour players are boring?
I'm suggesting some of them are insular, is probably the way I would put it. But yeah, if you want to go boring, sure, that's one way of putting it.
I wouldn't say boring. I'd say strong, silent type, like JT Poston, who, Rex, somehow, some way, has this newfound distance. We hear all these stories about players trying to find 10, 15 extra yards, and their swing goes bonkers. What did JT find that was successful in Las Vegas?
Something tells me that the postman wasn't boring last night. I was told by a member of his camp that he did spend the night last night in Vegas, and they did celebrate. He did make his flight this morning, though, so he's got that going for him. Most people do not make their flights in the morning out of Vegas. You look at what he did in that 2 months since the PGA Championship and playing his first fall event, and he really wanted to add some strength. He wanted to add muscle, trying to pick up speed. And the member of the camp told me that he felt like he's accomplished a lot in the game, but the one thing that he wanted to improve on is his play in the majors and the Players' Championship, and most of those big events are played on big golf courses where you have to hit the ball a long way. And if you just look sort of anecdotally to what he was able to do that last week in Vegas, look at where he was this season, strokes gained off the tee. He was 111th. He was losing strokes to the field off the tee. Last week, he was 15th, picked up almost 3 shots on the field. His club head speed picked up, and it's just 10 pounds. He's going to have to continue down that route, continue to pick up speed. We saw Matthew Fitzpatrick do it brilliantly on his way to winning that U.S. Open. But if you combine just a couple of more yards off the tee with as well as JT puts it, he could be a serious force in the big events.
Ryan, something else happened in Vegas last week. Camilo Villegas, who's the chairman of the Players Advisory Council, sent out a letter to the membership outlining some changes that the policy board is going to vote on next month. And that includes eliminating perhaps as many as 10 cards from the Corn Ferry Tour, dropping the number of exempt players from 125 down to 100, getting rid of a couple of sponsors exemptions every week, and then changing the field sizes, where full field events might only be 120 players versus the range of 144 to 156 we have now. What do you think the reception is going to be to that?
I think it depends who you're asking, Eamon. If you're asking a top 10 player in the world who can probably look big picture at the changes at the PGA Tour trying to make, you probably think that that's is pretty positive. Again, making the PGA Tour as competitive, as cutthroat a place, make it the premier destination if you're a top player in the world of golf where you want to play. If you're going to ask someone numbers 101 to number 125 in the FedEx Cup race, they're going to say, hey, these guys are coming for my livelihood. They're trying to threaten me. They're going to send me back down to the minor leagues. If you're a golf fan, if you remove your sort of the player perception of this, if you're a golf fan, are you going to miss the players who could potentially be sacrificed over these next 5 years? And again, this is not supposed to be a rash cut of 25. They're supposed to sort of cycle it down over the next couple of years, 5 cards at a time. You look at Joe Highsmith, number 125 in the FedEx Cup currently. He had 2 top 10s, 5 top 25s, and 24 starts. If we had Joe Highsmith on the show right now, he would admit that he did not have his best year in 2024. I'm all for making the PGA Tour the premier destination. The top players are doing that as well. That is what's best for the business. I understand that the players who could potentially be vulnerable in this position would see it otherwise. But I think big picture, this is the right move for the PGA Tour.
Rex, how different is this conversation than it was 25 years ago when it was Tiger and Phil and VJ and Ernie and guys were struggling at the bottom and maybe had a different worldview of what the PGA Tour looks like? Is this the same conversation we're having 20 years later, or is it different because of the schism in the professional game and the uncertainty in the professional game right now?
Damon, I think it's an unprecedented paradigm shift. When you look at where we were even 20 years ago and you talk to players who were struggling to stay right around 125, they certainly would not want any part of this conversation of cutting field sizes, cutting fully exempt cards, cutting exemptions out of those categories. It was supposed to be for the players. At that point in time, the tour was all about creating playing opportunities for the members. Now, as Ryan correctly pointed out, this is about providing playing opportunities for the top players. And what they're trying to do is make it more and more top-heavy going forward. Look, my understanding is when the PAC was given these proposals, they tried to counter with the idea that, okay, we can drop full field sizes to 120 players, but they wanted to expand the field sizes for the signature events, try to trade those two things off and keep roughly the same amount of tour cards. And I was told by one member of the PAC that the tour wanted nothing to do with that. It's clear the tour is leaning more towards the stars now than they ever have.
Ryan, on this subject of playing opportunities and the pipeline into the PGA Tour, there's an interesting angle to it. 15 amateurs have made cuts on the PGA Tour this year. The most recent was Ian Gilligan at the weekend, who tied for 16th at the Shriners. Luke Clanton has done it multiple times this year. Is there an argument that the Tour ought to actually expand the PGA Tour university ranking so that more than just the #1 finisher in that ranking earns a pathway to the Tour?
Yeah, I certainly think it's a fair argument that you could expand that from one player to potentially the top 3 players get direct access to the PGA Tour. You got to keep in mind, there's still a fight for talent between the PGA Tour and Live Golf. I think there's no better example of that in recent years than Caleb Surratt, who was a standout junior player, a standout freshman at Tennessee, and then he ended up going to Live as opposed to sort of going through this PGA Tour university system. Where it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years is sort of this side branch of PGA Tour University, which is his accelerated program, which Gordon Sargent has been a part of. Certainly Luke Clanton's now doing great things for Florida State. We're going to see him up coming in the next hour at the Stevens Cup. These players could potentially, in this age of NIL, defer their PGA Tour membership until after their senior year, as opposed to going after their junior year. And so the PGA Tour needs to keep making it as enticing and as attractive of a destination as possible for these juniors, so they want to come join the PGA Tour as quick as possible. The PGA Tour can capitalize on their potential star power.
Endlessly fascinating times. Rex and Lav, 2 segments of a roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Go Dogs.